Hello, everyone. Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to Copilot Live by First AI. I hope you're all having a fantastic Friday. I'm Christina Chen, CEO of First AI, and it's great to have you all here. Just waiting for people to trickle in. Let me start with a question. Welcome, while people are joining. Who here feels like you've got more time than you need? Okay, put in the chat if that's how you feel. Here's a data point for you. According to Microsoft's latest workplace index, 53% of the leaders say that productivity must increase to meet business demand. That's more than half of businesses and half of leaders saying that. But let's be honest here, most of us already feel pretty maxed out. That's exactly why we're here. So many organizations are now turning to AI to help their teams achieve more with less. And today, you're going to see what that actually looks like. So over the next hour, you'll see 3 AI agent demos built for lawyers, compliance teams, and investment professionals. But more importantly, you'll get to meet the people behind them who built these AI, because behind every great AI, there's an even greater human. So for those new to us here, let me give you some context before we dive into the demos. At First AI, our mission is simple. We want to make AI accessible and practical for every business. And we do that by giving companies the right people. We give you enterprise-ready AI specialists who make AI possible for you inside your organizations. And you get to see some today. In fact, these amazing people are the real agents, the agents of change. And here's what makes us different. We run the UK's first AI graduate program. What we do is we find some of the brightest emerging talent in the country and train them to become these change makers in AI for companies so they can help you turn AI potential into business impact. Right now, companies tell us they need 2 specializations the most. I'm being told my camera is off. Sorry, I'm pausing here. Is my camera off? No. Okay, great. Right now, companies tell us they need 2 specializations the most. One is people who can help their teams adopt AI day to day. That's our AI adoption managers. You get to see Efron here today on the demo, and they are running quite often Copilot rollout programs. Number 2 is people who can build AI agents that automate bigger workflows. That's our AI agent engineers, and you get to see a few today in action. One more data point for you. Why should you care here? Why does this matter? Why do we have this conversation today? 82% of business leaders say they'll integrate AI agents into their teams within the next 12 to 18 months. It's 82% within 12, 18 months. So that isn't the future, it's happening right now. And the companies doing it well, actually it's quite interesting. I have different ways to do it. I quite like the BCG framework. If people have seen that, the 10, 20, 70 rule, businesses, how they allocate their AI resources into AI, 10% on algorithms, 20% on tech and data, and the vast majority, 70% on people and processes. It just goes to show technology alone doesn't drive the change, it's the people who do. So the demos you're about to see were built by our newest cohort from the AI Academy I just talked about. They had just 2 weeks, only 2 weeks to design and build and test their AI solutions and to prepare the presentation you're about to see today. So they're not finished products. The AI is not finished product, but that's what makes them powerful, because you get to see how quickly ideas can move into action. Many of these use cases came from real customer challenges. I know some of you are on this call today. So what you see is really truly applied AI in action. So to wrap up, as you watch today, I invite you to think about 2 things. Number 1, can I imagine deploying some of what I see on the screen today into my team, into my business? Number two, can I imagine having someone like what I see on the screen, someone like him, someone like her on my team to help me drive change in terms of AI in my team. So don't forget to drop your questions in the chat. There will be Q&A for each demo before we move on to the next. Now, without further ado, let's welcome our very first AI demo by Efron and Joanna.
Amazing.
Hello.
Thank you, Christine.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here today. Efren and I will be transforming legal analysis with AI today, and we'll be showcasing our legal case summarizer agent.
Amazing. Thank you. And it's lovely to meet everyone. My name is Efron, and I am an AI adoption manager here at First AI. So before we begin, I just want to give everyone a rundown of exactly how today's presentation was going to go. So first off, we're going to understand exactly who our client is, understand their pains, their struggles, and exactly what solutions we can build out for them. Then we're going to go through the needs assessment and the whole process of how that is conducted. We'll talk about the process of going back away and collecting those requirements from the needs assessment to build out an accurate solution. We're then going to walk you guys through the demo and the architecture of the actual solution. After that, we're going to talk about the whole adoption plan and the deliverables which will be delivered to the client. And then we're going to go through some risk assessment, limitations, and return on investment, and then finish off on a grand conclusion. So let's meet our client. So meet James. And James represents the modern day lawyer at a prestigious law firm. He faces a numerous amount of day-to-day tasks which consistently pile up on his desk. And so he struggles with this thing known as essentially difficult debt. So currently, his workflow presents a critical bottleneck, which is affecting both his productivity and his ability to perform his services. So one of the services in which James has to provide is known as collecting and creating case judgment summaries, which is essentially just collating details, transcripts, and decisions made from previous judgments, and bringing them together to create a decision that can go on for more cases in the future. And so, what is the problem with this? Well, the problem is that when he takes the time to go ahead and make these case judgment summaries, he spends around 2 to 3 hours per judgment, which, with his expertise, should be used in regards to legal analysis and more specialized work. And 40% of that time is spent on documentation alone versus using his skills for strategic legal reasoning. So, as we know, these manual processes are extremely inefficient. And then many lawyers, just like James, spend a disproportionate amount of time on admin tasks rather than high value legal analysis and client advisory work. And so James comes to us and we go through a discovery call with James. And so throughout this discovery call, we are just trying to understand exactly what are the bottlenecks that he faces in his current workflows and how we can help. And so in order to do this, we need to go through a mocker framework. And just a quick question, does anybody know within this call what a mocker framework is? I don't know if you guys can raise your hands or not, but just out of curiosity, I'm not sure if I can see anyone. But yeah, so essentially, I'm just going to let you guys know that a Mocha framework built by Microsoft is just a framework that is used by change consultants and AI consultants to, yes, it's just used to allow essentially effective adoption to take place within organizations such as the one that James is at. And it splits it down into person, focus area, capability and needs, tooling, behaviors, and values. So, for example, we can understand James's persona. He's a lawyer. And so his effectiveness of work is more than just his admin task, but it's more so about him being able to analyze the data and provide legal reasoning. And if we can take into consideration of the behaviors, we can understand how exactly that we would provide said adoption into the wider organization. So we've gone away, we've had a discussion with James, and we've built a solution for him. So we came up with the solution being the legal case summarizer agent. So essentially what the summarizer agent will do is that it will take that time that he spends doing these admin tasks from 2 to 3 hours to just mere minutes. He'll then be able to store these summaries again for later use, so there's more usability and organization. And on the back of that, he can now gain insights and follow-up analysis on said bot by being able to provide a Q&A chatbot on the back of that. So now,
Now we will.
Joanna,
Oh,
so, so now Joanna's going to walk you guys through the technical architecture of our solution.
thank you, Efren. Now we will walk through how users interact with the system from start to finish. So firstly, our client can upload a legal document, either a PDF or a Word file directly through the Microsoft Teams. Once this file is uploaded, the file is securely processed. It's connected to the user's OneDrive. The agent starts extracting text and generating the summary. In parallel, users can ask questions about the document, where the agent will retrieve answers from both the original text as well as the generated summary. And each Q&A pair is automatically stored in the transcript for reference. Finally, the system generates a professional export, a Word document containing both the summary and the Q&A transcript, ready to be downloaded or shared. Now that we have looked at the user interaction pipeline, we will dive into the architecture, which is broken down into 4 main layers. At the top, we have user interface. This is where the user interacts with the system through Microsoft Teams or Copilot Studio. They can upload their file and start engaging with the agent. Next, we have the processing layer. Behind the scenes is where all the heavy lifting happens here. Power Automate flows orchestrate the pipeline. AI Builder provides the OCR capabilities to extract text from files, and an OpenAI GPT-4o model can generate the structured summaries and the Q&A responses. Next, we have the storage layer. All files and outputs are securely stored in OneDrive, while Azure Functions can handle serverless execution for tasks like export, and everything is safeguarded by Microsoft 365 security compliance. And finally, we have our output layer. The system will deliver results back to the user as a structured Word document containing both a summary and Q&A transcript along with a download link. Now we will review the full end-to-end workflow of the solution with all the main components and how they interact. So on the left, we can see the entry points. Users can upload their documents directly through the Teams chat or pull them from OneDrive. Then we have the agent orchestrator. These uploads are handled inside Copilot Studio, which acts as the orchestrator, deciding which action to trigger. So the first step is text extraction. AI Builder's own OCR service that can extract the text, validate it, and then store it. Next, we have an AI prompt that can generate the summary and support the Q&A functionality as well. And all questions and answers are automatically logged and stored. And then we have the export and storage action. So when our client wants to export the generated summary into a Word document, our agent will use an Azure function that will call an HTTP connector. And we also have at the bottom an admin console built in Power Apps, and this will allow us to monitor cases, check logs, and manage the system. Now we will have a look at the live demo. So as you can see right here, this is what our agent looks like on Copilot Studio. These are some of the tools and the topics that we have built. And now we can go and ask our agent a question. Hi, could you summarize my case judgment? Here it needs a moment. We can upload our case judgment. Sometimes it might ask us to upload again if it hasn't received it correctly. Now our agent has received the PDF, it's starting to extract the text. So it's showing us exactly on the state that it's at. So here we can see the structured summary in 3 different sections: case, facts, decisions or ruling, and key legal principles. And then next we can also ask some questions. So our agent asks us what we would like to know about the case, and we can ask as many questions as we want. All of them will be automatically logged into a Q&A transcript. Here we can see the answer as well as the evidence, so exactly the page where it retrieved the information from, so we can always go back and check that the information is correct. This is another question that we're asking. What was this case about? A very simple question. It gives us the answer and the evidence. Now that we are done asking questions, it will show us the Q&A transcript. And now we want to export it into a Word document. And we can see there's a download link that we can open that contains the summary in the different sections requested by our client, as well as the Q&A transcript. And it can also be found on OneDrive as well. Great.
Amazing. Thank you, Joanna. And so after we've gone away and we built our solution, the next step of the process would be the onboarding call. And essentially, we would jump on a call with James, just talking through the solution and just ensure that he is happy with what we presented and if it meets his criteria for what he's currently going through. So he's happy. So what happens next is that we will give him a deliverables package, which will include the AI agent solution with the Q&A capabilities, the ability to completely provide these case summaries with the detailed transcripts, and we would attach comprehensive user training documentation with it as well. After that, we would go through a training phase where we present comprehensive staff education on AI tooling and the best practice for the legal analysis workflows in order to get us ready for the next wild rollout. We'll then run through a pilot program, which is control testing with selected cases just to validate the performance of the agent and ensure that we can refine any processes as we go along. And then finally, we will perform a firm-wide rollout where we do a complete deployment of the solution across all the departments with ongoing support and monitoring. Great. So now the most important thing is, how does this actually provide value to James and the wider organization? Well, we know that James had a process which took him 2 to 3 hours. And with the use of this agent, those 2 to 3 hours have been cut down to 10 to 15 minutes, which means that his process is now 85 to 90% faster. We also know that with this, there is less error that can be performed from human error. So he has higher quality in the work that is being outputted, which means that he has consistent and structured outputs instead of missing insights that he may come across during these processes of obtaining these case files. And finally, the whole process has now been streamlined and simplified. So instead of going through an admin process, which would go through 2 to 3 hours, there is a streamlined user experience where he can just click upload, have an instant Word export, and have all the organized case summary files stored in his OneDrive.
There is also a higher cost efficiency, so AI can handle the analysis whilst the lawyer can focus on strategy. So just to give you a quick example, ROI, for £150 per hour and 2.5 hours saved, this is £375 per case, which at 20 cases per month is £7,500 in monthly savings. And some additional benefits are that our agent is always available on Teams, and it generates and provides professional and client-ready documents that can be shared for collaboration. Let's take a brief look at some potential risks and limitations. First, in terms of AI model performance, the accuracy of the summaries and Q&A depends on how up-to-date and reliable the underlying models are. Regular evaluation and retraining will be important to maintain performance. Next, our agent is not a tool for legal advice. It's designed to assist lawyers by summarizing and structure information, but not to replace professional judgment. Data security and compliance are also critical. Since the system processes sensitive legal documents, everything must remain securely stored within the Microsoft 365 environment, adhering to compliance standards. And finally, regulatory alignment. As AI governance and ethics standards evolve, especially around legal AI, the system may need to adapt and stay compliant. And some limitations of our agent are that it works best with text-based PDFs. It's currently only available for English legal documents, and it's optimized for individual cases, so it might struggle with very large or complex case judgments.
Amazing. And now to bring everything to a conclusion of what we went through today, we've now been able to transform James's workflows from bottlenecks to streamlined AI processes, deliver measurable gains in efficiency, consistency, and reliability. And now we've been able to position the firm as a leader in AI adoption. So what's next? Well, we plan on increasing the accuracy of the solution, broadening the case coverage, adding multilingual support, and enhancing the scalability, which will allow firms and James to be able to work faster, work smarter, and deliver better. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
We've got some questions. First, well done. Well done, Efron. Well done, Joanna. That was great. We've got quite a few questions in the chat. I'm just going to pick out a few that we can answer verbally, a couple of them, and then we can probably do the rest either on chat. You guys continue while the other demos on, or we'll pick up offline because we've got everyone's names here, if that's all right. Okay, so first question, Efron, for you, I think. How do you plan to handle bringing team staff along with you? Because this is a new method, right? And people have been doing it in different ways. How do you plan to make that change?
Yeah, so I feel like when it comes to change management and digital transformation, there may be some form of pushback. And so I think the first thing is to approach is to understand, and it goes back to our market framework where we need to understand exactly who we are dealing with, because with that, we can then enable a secure and a good adoption plan. So this would include being able to involve the staff from early, so not just throwing the solution in their face, but trying to bring them on early so they can, as we're building it and as we're providing the solution, they're making that link to the problem, to the solution. Just ensuring that we have clear communication, providing the right amount of training. So, providing support, practical training session, and just kind of showing tangible benefits of the solution. And then just kind of giving a gradual rollout. Again, it's not just forcing a change overnight. It's more so running the agent alongside their traditional methods at first, which just kind of allows people to kind of build trust in the tool's output while kind of being able to still remain familiar with their current processes to a point where, as confidence grows, then the adoption will occur a lot more naturally.
Great. Okay, thanks for explaining that, Efron. And then we have a technical one for you, I think, Joanna, about scalability. I think you also had it in the last slide about future next steps. But when you were building this, what did you consider in terms of scalability?
So as this is a prototype, it's only working, it can only process one case judgment at the time, but this is something that we really are looking forward into working furthermore and allowing our agent to be able to process multiple case judgments in parallel at the same time, so that it can produce different summaries for different case judgments.
Okay, great. Right. Just in the interest of time, we're going to wrap up on the first demo here. Thank you, Efron, again, and thank you, Joanna. If you have time to look through the chat channel, it'd be great if you can pick up a few questions there. We'll now welcome our second demo. Natalie, please.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Natalie, and I'm the AI agent engineer here at First AI, and I was responsible for designing and building the agent, the flows, and the underlying architecture. And today I will be presenting my project, which is the Compliance Assistant, and it's an AI-powered tool that helps compliance teams quickly search, summarize, and share FCA and COBS guidance. And the goal was to save time, reduce manual errors, and to ensure consistent answers. And we'll also be able to look at how this solution fits into real compliance workflows and delivers measurable business value. So this is the agenda. First, we will go over the introduction and the problem context. We will go over the goals and objectives that we want to achieve. We will have a demo scenario. So we want to see a typical compliance worker who would be using this agent. Then we will look at the behind the scenes, so the architecture and the flow. Then the demo, the results and benefits, security and limitations, and the future steps. So the introduction. FCA and COBS sets the standard for fair, transparent and professional conduct in UK financial services, covering everything from client communications to suitability and best execution. And right now, compliance teams spend a long time digging through FCA and COBS PDFs. It's slow and there's a risk of making mistakes. So our assistant, we wanted to tackle this by speeding up search and to standardize answers. So this is the Mocha framework. We had Efron in the previous presentation go into more detail. I'm just going to kind of go over it quite quickly. So the Mocha framework helps companies align their people, processes, and then tools so that new solutions fit naturally into their daily work. And it keeps us focused on real outcomes. For instance, in our case, to find rules faster, saving and sharing summaries. And the needs assessment confirms our key pain points, so slow, error-prone rule research. And it defines what we want it to do, so search, summarize, and save securely. And together, the Mocha and the needs assessment ensure that the solution is practical, and it ensures that the tool solves real business problems, and it doesn't just add a new technology to the business, it's able to actually help. So the problem content, the compliance, a lot of compliance teams, they have scattered documents. So they have multiple libraries, versions, and formats. So the assistant brings the most relevant bits to the surface so that analysts don't have to hunt it. It also, a lot of teams search manually, and it takes around 3 to 4 hours per query. So we want to reduce this. There's also a lot of inconsistent answers across teams, and there's also regulatory risk. So there's a real risk in errors, delays, and potential fines for companies. So this slide shows the key goals behind the project. So our main goal was to make compliance research faster, more accurate, and easier to share. We also want to automate rule searches, reducing manual effort by up to 90%. We want to ensure that answers are consistent and cited. For instance, if when the agent gives the answer, we want it to provide all the sources that it uses to answer. We also focus on enabling teams to save and share summaries. So you're able to share it with your team and able to, for instance, share it to your email so you can use it later on. And we also want to help compliance teams work faster with fewer risks. And finally, as the tool grows, it can easily expand to cover more regularizations, for instance, PRA rules, so that it can stay useful long term. So right now, 60% of compliance time is spent on manual rule review. Automation frees teams to focus on higher value work. So by automating the search analysis and summarization of COBS and FCA rules, it can allow teams to focus more on strategic oversight, risk management, and advising the business. So a lot of time can be spent instead on more significant work. So this is a demo scenario. So a typical worker who would be using the compliance assistant. So we'll step into the shoes of a compliance analyst, and they can use the agent to ask general Q&A questions, or they can request a compliance summary. And if they do request a compliance summary, they can have those findings saved in SharePoint for future reference. And they can also have it sent to their teams and to their email. So in this case, because this is a prototype, I created a compliance channel in Teams. However, if we were working with an actual company, we would use their Teams channel or create a channel for their compliance team that they can use to send the summaries. So now we get to see the demo and how the agent works. So here we can see on the right-hand side, you can see the user interface. So this is what the user would see. They wouldn't see the left-hand side. However, I wanted to include the left-hand side so that you can see the technical setup and see how the agent was built. So if we start it, we will go first into knowledge. And here we can see all the internal and external knowledge that was used for the agent. So first we can see the FCA approved websites, and then we can see the SharePoint PDFs that we used. However, later on, I ended up using Azure AI Search, as with the SharePoint PDFs, it's quite slow as the agent has to scan through each individual document. So it's quite slow and not very precise. However, when we use the Azure AI, when you ask a question, the search service pulls a relevant chunk of text from that PDF, and then it gives that to the agent to summarize it into an answer. So it's also very quick. It takes the agent a couple of seconds to provide a summary. So now if we go, below there you can see the Azure AI Search. And in topics, we can see all the main topics that we've used. So we can see the Q&A and the compliance summary. So now we will try to trigger our agent to see how it works. So if we go into overview and we go to the right-hand side, we will trigger it by saying something like hello. And then the agent should respond asking, do you want to ask a general question or do you want a compliance summary? So we will request a compliance summary. And we will ask we will ask for a summary on the key requirements of COPS 4 on financial promotions to retail clients. And then when we send it, the agent will retrieve all the relevant internal and external documents to answer the question. And we can see it's been answered in a couple of seconds. So we can see it all here. And then if we go up, we can see that it provides all the rules that we would have to follow, how it's applicable to the scenario and the actions that we would have to take next. And at the bottom, we have all the sources that were used to answer the question. So orchestration is turned off. So the agent is only able to use the internal and external sources that we fed it with. So if we click on one, this is an internal document that we used, and it's a PDF that was provided. It looks a bit weird right now, but this is because it's the Azure AI. So it pulls the chunk that's relevant to the question. So it looks like this, but we are able to access the whole PDF if we do want to go and read over it, as I also added it in SharePoint where all the internal documents are shared. So if we go to SharePoint now, the summary should be saved there, and we have a link to click on. So now we can see SharePoint. So here we have the summary, and if we were working with a company, there would be a lot more summaries here, but because this is the first one, so we just have one here, and you're also able to add when it was saved and who it was saved by. And then here we have all the internal documents. So you're able to go and also read over all the PDFs. I generated about 8 PDFs, so there's not a lot, but we can always add more to it. And then we want to save the summary, so we will give our email address. And then after we send our email address, I also wanted to save it to Teams, so we will get a notification that it's been saved to Teams and to our email. And then if we go to Teams, we can see the summary straight away there, with all the sources and the whole overview, and it's in the compliance assistant channel that was created. And then when we go to our email, it should be there, which we can see here. And once again, we have the whole overview, the whole summary, and the sources at the end, which we can click on if we do want to read more about them. So if we click on one, for instance, this is the FCA approved website, and it will give us the rule that we have to follow so we can read more about it. So that's an overview of how the agent works. We can see that answers are provided in seconds, so it's really quick. So now we will go on to the effective delivery techniques. So the agent was created in Copilot Studio. It's able to capture the user's question and identify if the user is asking a Q&A question or a compliance summary. We use Azure AI Search, which pre-processes the text into chunks and vector embeddings, so that queries can be matched by their meaning. And then because we only have about 8 internal PDFs, a lot of the time, the agent won't be able to answer the question using those internal PDFs because we only have 8. So it will use the trusted FCA website as a fallback source. And this is also really important to have, as all the latest updates are in the FCA website. And then Power Automate is used for our flows. So it's used to help us send the summaries, generate the emails, and share the results. SharePoint is used to store our documents and to save our summaries, so you're able to go back to it in the future. And then Teams and email to distribute it to users. So then this is a short guide describing how to use the agent, and this would be provided to anyone that's using the agent for their first time. So here you have just an overview of what the agent does, and you have some example queries that you can use to test out the agent. So it's just really useful to have if you've never used the agent before. It tells you a bit more about it. And then, so now we will look at the results and benefits. So the results show a clear improvement. Compliance answers now take minutes instead of hours. And there's also a manual rule lookup effort, which is cut by around 50 to 70%, so freeing analysts time. There's accuracy and consistency, which is improved because every answer is citation based. So we know the agent isn't able to give an answer using random websites. It can only answer using what we have fed it with. and all outputs are saved in SharePoint. So we have full audit readiness with version history. And on the benefit side, we have faster decisions, which help unblock client communications and marketing approvals. Every statement is traceable, giving regulatory confidence and consistency across teams. And this saves cost and reduces operational risk by cutting missed updates and errors. So security was also a priority when designing the agent. So I believe our agent is secure as the assistant searches our internal SharePoint index first. And then if we can't get results from there, it does use the FCA website. So it never uses the open web. All answers are also permission trimmed. So they respect each user's existing SharePoint and Teams access. So the agent would never expose something a user wouldn't normally be able to see. And every answer is grounded in citations. So for instance, you have all the rule IDs and links which are logged, and that makes all the results transparent. So there are also some limitations. We do need to remember that this is not legal advice. It supports compliance work, but high risk or unusual cases should be reviewed by a human. There's also a coverage as it is limited to SharePoint documents and FCA pages. So if content is not there, the agent will respond saying, I'm sorry, but I'm unable to answer this question because I don't have the knowledge to do so. And it's also tuned for UK FCA COBS guidance. So non-UK or non-English rules will not be supported by this agent. And lastly, all results rely on SharePoint updates and FCA links. So we do need to refresh them. If, for instance, a link changes, we need to refresh it with a new link so we don't miss any latest changes. And then these are our KPIs. So we don't have final numbers yet, but these are the KPIs that we would want to track. So for example, adoption. If 20 users each asked around 6 questions a month, that's around 120 queries in that month. For efficiency, it's all about time being saved. So right now it takes around 3 hours for a compliance analyst to search all rules and summaries. However, with the agent, it says 20 minutes. I believe it's quicker than that. So that's around 90% faster. And then value, if the agent saves about 200 hours in a month with an average compliance staff cost of £60 per hour, that's around £12,000 saved minus platform costs. So these KPIs show how the agent delivers measurable impact, proven adoption efficiency, and real business value. And then the goals achieved. So as I mentioned before, we have 90% faster research time. So we went from around 3 hours to 3 to 4 hours to 1 to 5 minutes. Adoption in daily work, as it can be used by compliance team for queries and summaries. We know that the answers are accurate as they will have citations and they only use our internal and external documents. And we are able to save the summaries into SharePoint or to send to our teams and to our email. However, we do want to also have some future steps. So in the future, we could include custom connectors, secure reusable access to search FCA and graph update ones, model training, so fine tune on internal guidance, automated alerts, so send teams updates when there is a new FCA or internal policy change, a feedback loop, so a thumbs up or down button that users are able to click depending on how they find the answer, and deeper integration, so connect with case and approval workflows for seamless action, and some analytics to track usage accuracy and time saved. We also have a pilot plan. So right now, I'd say we've completed phase 1. Phase 2 would be to onboard around 10 to 15 pilot users to use the agent prototype and to get feedback on how they find it. And then phase 3 would be hardening, so refining the prompts and security. And then phase 4 would be to roll it out to the wider team so that everyone can use it. So this is the plan that we would want to follow. And this would roughly take, it says 9 weeks, it could be quicker, but this is just roughly the plan. So in conclusion, the compliance assistant delivers faster answers. Compliance queries are resolved in minutes rather than hours. It is secure and auditable as we use an internal search first with FCA as a trusted fallback. And importantly, it's here to support, not replace our subject matter experts. And we also have a clear, scalable path starting with pilot, hardening, and then rolling out more widely across the organization. And finally, it is roadmap ready with model training, automated alerts, and user feedback loops. Thank you so much for listening. We will now take any questions that you have.
Great, well done, Natalie. That was amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We do have quite a few questions. I'm going to pick from the top here. I don't know if you've tried, but someone asked, can you make the agent read .msg files?
It's not something that I've tried yet, but I believe it is possible.
Okay.
But it's not something that I've done yet in the prototype.
Yeah, we need to verify that. Okay. And then we have someone asking, could you easily build a separate agent to monitor when the FCA updates its guidance on the website, and then use an orchestration agent to update this agent, basically a multi-agent setup. Same question, read document updates in the user's SharePoint. Well, let's answer the first one first. First part. Can you do that easily?
So if the agent can
monitor the updates on the website and then tell the other agent.
So once again, it's not something that I've done so far, as this is just a prototype. But yes, I believe it, and it also would be easier because then it would be updated when there is a new rule. But it's not something that I've done so far. But yes, you are able to do that.
Yes. Same question, read document updates in the user's SharePoint, I guess. All right, okay. So if there's an update, if someone has been updating the internal knowledge base, does the agent then automatically kind of refresh that, update that, and be
Yes, so we are
able,
if we have any new internal documents, we would just add it into SharePoint, and then the agent is able to use that. But that's kind of also a limitation right now with the SharePoint, as we do have to manually do that. For instance, with the FCA website, it is automatic. So that's what the prototype does right now, but it is something that we want to build on.
Okay, great. The next one, and then we'll move on to the next demo. How do you manage confidentiality and data protection alongside the law firm when gaining access? All right, okay, sorry. That's one for Efron and Ioana. Well, let's take that on chat then. Take that question on chat, if that's all right. We'll move on to the next one now. Khan, who is going to present to us agent around investment memos for investors out there on this call. Thank you, Natalie.
Yeah, thank you, Christina, for the introduction. Hi, my name is Khan, and today I will be presenting on my agent on IC memo drafting. And yeah, so I'll be the last one to present today, so hopefully I'll end this very gracefully. And so, yeah, our agent we built is to automate the creation of investment memo with Copilot Studio. And in this session, I will be talking first on the definition of investment committees to give you a quick context about the financial side of the project. And then I will also outline the business context, describing the Mocha framework as Natalie and Efron has already present to you. And then I will take a deep dive into the more technical side of the project, which is the architecture of the agent and the demonstration of the agent. And finally, I'll just quickly walk you through the benefits in the real world and also the next steps. And finally, if we have time for the Q&As, please feel free to shoot out questions in the chat, or I can also send you the replies in your emails. So if you're similar to myself, I don't have a lot of finance background knowledge, so this is very new to me. But so I just want to give you a quick overview of the context so you understand what we're trying to solve at the moment. So an investment committee is a group typically within the investment firm that would make the decision whether to invest in a company or not. And then for the enterprise investment scheme and seed enterprise investment scheme, these will be the government schemes that encourage investment into early stage UK startups by giving investors tax reliefs. SEIS is for the very earliest stage companies, and EIS is for a slightly later but still high risk companies. And finally, an IC memo is basically a snapshot that is prepared by an investment team to summarize key informations such as the company background, market size, financial projection, and risk and mitigations. So I'll just quickly walk you through the Mocha framework. So here I would want to give you a quick overview of the investment analyst roles. So they review company documents and financial documents, coordinates with stakeholders to understand their needs and key information that they require, and then summarize the findings into a structured memo. And so the needs within their day-to-day job is to access the information. So the agents would need to assist them in summarization of data. They would have to utilize the templates to create EIS and SEIS memos to ensure the compliance consistency. And finally, the automation support. So agent can automate memo drafting from start to finish. And as a result, we have identified three main requirements. So the first one is to automate the review of SharePoint folders for company documents. Second is to generate IC memos using predefined templates for EIS and SEIS. And finally, notify the investment teams when a draft memo is ready so that they can immediately go and review it. So just give you a quick overview of the architecture. Here I have clearly identified the three main phases, which is the input, the process, and the output. The agent will be triggered by an email coming in from Microsoft Outlook. It will then go and identify the company in question, retrieve their key informations, and draft the memo. And finally, when the memo is drafted and put in a appropriate folder, the teams will be notified using the Microsoft Teams message. So here's a more detailed look at how it works. So it might look a bit confusing at the moment, but we'll walk through it. So on the left of your screen here, you can see that the agent will be triggered by an email coming in requesting an IC memo for a specific company. And on top, you can see the SharePoint folders, which contains the companies, the templates, and the memo folders. And the heavy lifting will be performed by the Power Automate flow, which standardize the different file types and then feed it through retrieving the key information using GPT-4, and then drafting either the SEIS or EIS memo. Finally, once it's done, the memo will be put in their respective folder and the teams will be notified. So just to give you a more vivid picture of what it looks like in practice, I would like to do a live demonstration. So yeah, so firstly, I would like to introduce you to the SharePoint folder, which will contains the company folders. Each companies will have their designated subfolders, which contains different files that they need. For example, pitch deck, financial models, team sheets, and so on. And just to give you a quick overview of what the financial team is dealing with from a day-to-day basis. And then we have the templates, which will have different documents that are prepared by the investment teams so that it ensures the consistency between deals made. And finally, we have a memo folder, which will contain the outputs of the agents. And so here's the quick overview of the IC memo agents interface. So here it has a name, a short description. I've given it a detailed instruction on what to perform and where to get information. And then it will also has knowledge of the SharePoint folders, and then it would be triggered by the memo. And finally, as I mentioned, this will be the heavy lifting Power Automate flow. Okay, so let's get to the exciting part, which is to test the agent. So here I will pull up a draft that I've made. So pretend I am the investment team trying to request a memo for a company called Cloudflow Analytics in the SEIS round. So here I'll send it to my email. Once it reached my inbox, we can test it in the test environment. Here it is. So yeah, we can test the trigger now. So one thing I love about working with Copilot Studio is that the transparency that it gives, so you know exactly what is happening under the hood. No worries, we can try it again. So sorry for this. There's some problem this morning. I tested it out a bit earlier, but doesn't seem to be working. But I can show you another way that I've pre-recorded a video on how the agent is working. So please
That's
bear with
okay.
me.
Don't worry, Khan. I mean, that's live demos for you.
Yeah, no, sorry about that.
It's okay, good. You have a backup. You can show that working, and then we can debug it later.
Yeah, it's a bit disappointing, but so here's the skip through the testing part then. Sorry. Yeah, so here. Yeah, I'm going to test the trigger in this video. So it's the same as before. I have sent an email to request an IC memo. Once it reached my inbox, I can test the trigger phrase in the test environment. Yeah, so as you can see, it's reading the memo folder and the company folder within the SharePoint to identify the companies that are needed to generate the IC memos. And then as you can see, it triggered a Power Automate flow. And in the Power Automate flow, you can see exactly which step is running and which step is waiting to be run. And this would also help to identify errors if there's any that happen, or if there's any other additional functions that you would later on add to your agent. I can skip this part, but I would like you to see how long it is actually running in a real world scenario.
This is because of the various format you have, right? This is for the master memo. You have PowerPoint, Word, Excel.
Yeah, definitely. So we're dealing with a lot of different file types, and one of the reasons why this is taking longer than other agents is because I would like to ensure a standardization of the documents without touching the original ones. And here, as you can see, once it's finished, it will send in the location of the file as well as a message on Teams saying that it has been ready, and so the investment team can go and review it immediately. Yeah, as you can see, here's the final product with all the details and concise, ready to go. So yeah, as you can see, the memo has, oh, sorry. So the IC memo generation agent has saved the investment team quite a lot of time, from probably days to reviews the different documents and extracting key informations to just a few minutes. So it's and also we would like to stress about the cost saved per memo. So with the agent automation, it can be quite a lot cheaper to run the automation rather than having manual review of the key financial information and deal rooms. And it will also assist in decision turnaround. So a deal can take a person 2 to 3 days, and now it can be less than 1 day. And finally, the collaboration latency also, as the agent is noticing the finance team through Teams, they can immediately check the memo draft, and the communication is more fluid. And to end it on a forward-facing overview, I would like to talk about what's next. So when designing this agent, we not only think about what's directly in front of us, but also what can we improve on, and what can we do better with this agent as the backbone. So the first feature we would like to add in the future would be the ability to visualize the information from the deals. So it can connect with Power BI dashboards to give the investment team a visually understanding of their key informations and also identifying trends. Another thing that we would think that it would be nice to have is to pick up on the red flags and the missing items and risky phrases within a deal, so it can notify the investment analyst immediately. And finally, the final feature that we think might be very useful is the ability to generate a monthly auto report. So the agent can compile updates from new documents and post the concise pack. So have it ready how you want it and when you want it. And also, we would like to produce a training guide and deployment guide, as you can see on the right here. So you can select an analyst to become a champion who can train other employees on how to best utilize this agent. And so, yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed my agent, and thank you very much. For the investment audience out there, I would like to say, with this agent, your team spend the time where it counts, so making the right decision and not fetching the documents. Thank you.
Well done, Khan. I know it's not easy. Well done for live technical demos. We've discussed this internally, how live we want this to be, and we gave ourselves a challenge. So well done on that. I know the time is up, but I did promise to answer some of the questions here. So I'm going to pick one. I will do the rest offline for the audience. The one here, first one, out of a series, can Copilot be trained to match our writing style by uploading sample documents, input, output, or can we only just steer tone and structure through system prompts and instructions?
Definitely. I feel like that's one of the main feature when using Copilot. You can change not only the tone, but the length of the text generated and also the characteristic. And so, yeah, it's definitely possible.
Okay, great. Well, here's a wrap. Thank you very much for everyone who's joining, and really well done everyone who presented. I hope that everyone got to see some real sort of applied AI in action, and more importantly, brilliant people behind. Thank you, everyone, Ioana, Natalie, and Khan. And have a great rest of the Friday. QR code on the on the screen if you want to book a call to talk more. Thank you.